On this week's episode, does Blizzard have some scary plans for the future? Our movie picks to watch this Halloween? And what is the number one video game of all time? All this and more as you once again delve into a spooky episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. The Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with a spooky episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Cousin It, Gerald Glassford, talking to you right here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break Podcast, and Game Source. Wishing you and everyone out there a happy and safe Halloween upcoming very soon for you. And let's hope you get all the trick-or-treats. Let's hope you get all the treats you can when you're out there trick-or-treating. But it wouldn't be a Halloween and spooky and scary episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own scary ghoul of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, and everything that he's doing with his awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, just hanging out here at Ghoul School with my good friend Scooby-Doo. You see that reference I just did? Yeah, think about it.
Zoinks!
Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School, man. That's where it's at. Yeah.
Well, you know what? In honor of Scooby-Doo and its 50th anniversary this year, which we celebrated earlier this year, if you also want to check out a great episode that features Scooby-Doo as well, not only check out our past episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos, but also check out the Ear Station 1 podcast that celebrated 50 years of Scooby-Doo as well. You get a chance to check that out if you're a big Scooby-Doo fan like we are. But it is going to be a great episode, a spooky and scary Halloween episode for you today. We've got a lot of things going on, including our good friend Jason Todd Feinberg from Hunniqueen. He's going to be talking about since he's our horror man and our Halloween movie man in the know. Since he's our Halloween man in the know, he's going to be talking about some of the great Halloween movies. In fact, he has a countdown of the top 10 Halloween movies that you should see this coming Halloween. Also, as well, we're going to be talking about Blizzard. We're going to be talking about Jamie Monroy from Game Source. He's going to be stopping by with his Witch's Brew, with his review of Frostpunk coming up later in the program. And also, as well, Josh has some picks for upcoming. Josh has some picks for albums coming up later in the show. So, music, a little bit of music we're going to throw in on you there. Plus some horror picks from us as well coming up later in the program. And all that, on top of all that, we've got our number 1 to number 10. That's right, the top 10 list. We're finally here. After so many episodes, we're finally here. The top 10 video games of all time as determined by our voters that follow us at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Our top 10 is finally here, including our number 1, and that's going to be coming up in the program as well. But my friend, I want to start off with a general note as far as pop culture, because it's still a lot of stuff going on in pop culture out there, and that's Blizzard. I know they're not I know they're not high on your Christmas card list, but I wanted to hear your thoughts as stuff is leaking out as far as games upcoming, and as no shocker upon no shocker, 2 of the games that have done very well for them are having new iterations come very soon in Diablo 4. And also as well, Overwatch 2. I kind of was surprised at Overwatch 2 coming out a little bit sooner than I thought. I thought they would let that fester a little bit, since that seems to be the thing with successful video games, that they actually just let them, go on for years and years and years. Now, maybe like instead of a 2 to 3 year window, like more like a 5 year window for some of these type of games, they just bring out DLC, and let the player base perpetuate a little bit more, a little bit longer. But we're seeing now signs that Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are both on the way from Blizzard. Does this get excited? Does this get you excited at all for the for anything Blizzard has out, or is it going to take something different for you to ever get into a game from Blizzard?
I just want to point out, have you noticed that I feel like these announcements why are they making the announcements now? Because I feel like they were being saved for like a big gaming event, and then all this bad publicity started getting thrown at them. So they're trying to do the old shift of the hand maneuver here and get you to look at something else while they, work on whatever it is they're doing behind the scenes. So it's just, if the timing feels weird, it feels forced. But as for your question, does this excite me? Not really, because like we've talked about before, I've never been a fan of Blizzard games. I've never really gotten into them. I have plenty of friends who've loved World of Warcraft and Diablo and things like that, but I just have never been a fan of Blizzard games. And it's not anything I have against the company. It's not a political thing. It's not a social thing. It's nothing like that. They don't make anything that I'm interested in. I've never had a PC powerful enough to run their stuff. And when the stuff that they have, like Overwatch, comes out on console, I just haven't had any interest in it, because it was like multiplayer, mainly multiplayer, and like a lot of these games I just never got into. So what would it take to get me to play a Blizzard game? It would take something with a good story, a good like role-playing game, something on console, something I can play by myself. If they had that, and it's not something that I had to go back 4 games, like Diablo, and play the originals to understand, I would be like, a completely new LP would get me. That would be, or it's not LP, sorry, a completely new IP. That's what would get me to play something new, something on console, something I don't have to play multiplayer for.
If it was actually a new LP on the way, that would be kind of interesting.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. That just, we mean they've gone into the music business. That would be kind of a different thing for them. So maybe that would get you. But you're right, a new IP for a lot of people, because they do have a certain way they go about doing things. They also have a certain way that they approach their base of customers, which, whatever you want to say about Blizzard, and especially they've been in the news lately for speaking out or punishing those who speak out against what's going on in Hong Kong. And they've been very adamant about that and have had to go ahead and walk themselves back a few steps because they've been too harsh and they've received a lot of criticism for it. Whatever you want to say about Blizzard, they do have a connected base that is with them and eats anything up that they have to offer. I mean, we've had people that have worked with us on this show and for GameSource, and for YourGameSource.com, the previous entity that we had, that just truly ate anything up that Blizzard was willing to dish out. They were not at all first-person shooter. They were not all interested in first-person shooters until Blizzard made one. They were not at all interested into card games until Blizzard made one. So they do have a fervent fan base that is very loyal to everything that they put out and will always continue to do so, seemingly for the foreseeable future, which is nice. But BlizzCon is coming up, which is their annual convention that they do, which is very Blizzard-centric. So they're going to be announcing probably Diablo 4 and also Overwatch 2, because they're both heavily rumored to be announced at BlizzCon next week. So it appears to me that they're lining us all up to have a great BlizzCon for themselves. That's probably the reason why, Josh, that you don't hear much from them during the course of E3, during the course of pretty much any other time of the year, because they want to save it all for themselves. And you got to remember, since they're a publicly traded company, they have to go ahead and make a big splash. So to go ahead and be able to not only when they announce their earnings, but also as well to make a big splash so that investors can feel safe in their product. Because a lot of times with those publicly traded companies that are publicly traded video game companies, it's not about appeasing so much you and I, the gamer. Sometimes it's about appeasing you and I, the shareholders.
Yeah, but I feel like that kind of takes the soul out of gaming. Like, if you're not making something for the gamers, but you're making something for the shareholders, that's been Nintendo's problem for so long, is that they never want to venture out and make new IPs, and they just stick to the stuff they know that makes money. Before Reggie Phil-Ames was in charge, they had just had a board full of doctors, not is it no, it's just a board full of businessmen, and they just wanted to keep making more Mario stuff, more Zelda stuff, more this. And while some of those games have been good, it doesn't really open an opportunity to gain new fans into these series or franchises. It just kind of continues on the path that they're doing. And what this is proving with Blizzard, like, it hasn't been working very well. You know, I know they have their dedicated fan base, but they're not doing anything to grow that fan base. And I think that could be their Achilles heel.
That could be their Achilles heel, and it could be something that might cost them in the long run, because if they keep doing things that, you know, angers the gaming community, like they did recently with the heavy crackdown on individuals that were supporting those in Hong Kong, supporting democracy in Hong Kong, that it will probably lead to a lot of backlash, and could lead to an eventual disassociation with the Blizzard products. But I don't see them making that stupid of a maneuver. I see them going ahead and maybe, hey, ease up a bit on whatever rhetoric you have. We need to go ahead and keep our loyal Chinese base, and because they do make a nice chunk of change in China. And this goes back to what, you know, we've seen from the NBA, from Hollywood, from, you know, all facets of the entertainment and pop culture spectrum. China is now a major player in this industry as far as what they offer and what they sell, what they take in from consumer products like these. So you are catering them and to what their will is. It's seemingly so. The same issues that we have in the NBA, we now have with Blizzard. We now have with other entertainment entities as well. So this creates a problem, because the thing is, if you're too hard on these consumers, if you're too hard on these gamers that are supporting the democratic cause in Hong Kong, then you're going to have a lot of people that have issues and are going to go ahead and not spend their money with Blizzard products. So you have to walk that fine line while trying to take care of both entities in China and everywhere else. You cannot keep going ahead and stepping on too many toes like they did recently, because punishing that gamer for so harshly really took a little bit of a bite out of them. And I hope they don't go ahead and make those same mistakes in the future, because if they continue to do so, you'll be seeing a lot more people going ahead and maybe boycott Blizzard. You'll be seeing the hashtag boycott Blizzard a lot more often.
Yeah, I mean, that's you don't mix politics with your product, no matter what it is, because what we've seen in recent times is that you can't please anybody on either side of the political spectrum. You can't please all of them. People all have, there's so many different, it's such a toxic thing to dive into. So you don't, I mean, even as someone who, like me, I write books. I never go on Facebook or Instagram or any of these things and make political comments, because that's like the death throw of anyone trying to sell anything. So it's a smart move not to do it. And, you know, there's a whole other conversation to be had about whether or not companies should, you know, be able to feel forced to do things like this in order to keep sales going in a certain region of the world. But that's a whole other conversation, you know, for another time. But it's a balancing act, you know, and I don't think Blizzard has done that very well.
Now, mind you, you don't go on the air about your political comments or Facebook or social media on that. But every now and then you might go ahead and interject something when it concerns a movie review that certain people take umbrage to. I remember a certain Wonder Woman movie that came out, and you said it was okay, and my gosh, you got roasted on the fire like you were, like you were a turkey in the oven.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, Wonder Woman was.
You didn't say it was bad.
No, I did not. Yeah, that was an interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it was not as okay as people wanted me to think it was, I suppose. Yeah, legendary, man. Legendary.
Yes. I remember the backlash on that. I thought Josh was going to have to go ahead and, you know, have a PR rep come out for, yes, I'd like to speak on behalf of Josh, and I'd like to say he apologizes for the thing he says, and la 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 la, you know, all that. But
I was writing out my apology too, but it all blew over, so it's all right.
All right. For now, wait until Wonder Woman 84 comes out. But anyways, all right, my friend, it's still an issue though with Blizzard. and their tenuous future going forward, I mean, they're going to have their player base. I think there's still going to be a loyal fan base that follows them no matter what. It's that fringe of individuals that love their games but do not like Blizzard as a whole. That's going to be the key about going forward. Will they still be at that upper echelon of gaming communities and gaming companies that's going to be out there? Will they be at the upper echelon, and will they stay that way? In fact, when you can go ahead and have your own large community gathering such as BlizzCon every single year, you have to be up there when it comes to the gaming community as a whole. So in order to keep your status going forward, you got to do things to take care of that community. Will you go ahead and service your customers, or will you go ahead and you service your shareholders? We're going to have to go ahead and see what goes on here in the near future when it comes to Blizzard and Blizzard Entertainment. What it's going to do with when it announces most likely Overwatch 2 and also Diablo 4. What enhancements are they going to be able to still make with the World of Warcraft and some of the other things that they're going to do? We're going to find out over the course of the next week when BlizzCon comes around. But the future going forward is a little tenuous, but I still see good things as far as sales, interest, and also the products that come out with Blizzard Entertainment, even if everybody doesn't like them as a whole in regards to what they do and the games that they put out. What are your thoughts out there on Blizzard Entertainment? Are you a big fan of what they do? Are you like Josh and just not liking anything that they put out there? Or are you like me and you're kind of just not exactly in love with some of the ways that they go about taking their customers? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, we're here. We are here. We're here, man. After a long trip all the way down from number 200, we're now down to the final 10. It's the top 10 in our it's the top 10. It's the list of the top 10 in our top 200 video games of all time, as voted upon by our awesome followers of the Pop Culture Cosmos. We reached out to the community of the Pop Culture Cosmos, and they responded in kind with their picks for the best video games of all time. We've been counting them down week in, week out. If you want a list if you want the entire list, it's available now at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. But here it is, my friend. It's here. It's now. I can't believe we're finally here, but it is. It's the top 10 games, and I'm going to read it out right now for you. So here comes, everyone, the top 10 games in our top 200 list of video games of all time. And wouldn't you know, I lost the tab which had the list. So give me un momento, por favor. This will be edited out in post. But to those watching, I'm scrolling down right now on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And it's a little bit of a scroll now because we've got a lot of content up there. So I hope you get a chance to see it, all the good stuff that's available now at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. I should have almost like a drum roll through the whole thing, but no, I don't want to do that. That's too much in post. But number 10, Metal Gear Solid. At number 9, Persona 5. At number 8, Tetris. Number 7, Super Metroid. At number 6, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Number 5, Super Mario World. Super Mario World. Number 4, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Number 3, Chrono Trigger. Number 2, Final Fantasy VII. And number 1, Super Mario Brothers 3. Super Mario Brothers 3. So there it is, my friend. So at number 1, Super Mario Brothers 3. So there you have it, my friend. There's the list of our top 10 video games of all time. What a great list indeed. A lot of great games there. And there's no one out there that can't tell me that's going to tell me that Nintendo games aren't popular or never have been popular, because our list, especially our top 10 games, are full of Nintendo products. So I want to hear your thoughts, my friend, in detail. These top 10 games, let it soak in, let it just wash over you, these 10 games. And I want to hear your thoughts on the top 10 video games of all time.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. Hold on one second.
So if you're catching this right now on the video, just to let you know, it is the top 10 video games of all time. And the last of and the number one game in our survey is and the number one game on our list of our top 200 video games is Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers 3. So I ask you, my friend, with all that list, we're finally done. It's just we're finally here. What are your thoughts and feelings on the top 10 games of all time?
It's been quite the journey here. I look at this list, and sadly, there's a good probably 25% of these games that I have never played before, but a lot of the ones that I am familiar with are games that have been vital gaming experiences for me growing up. Going through our top 10 here, Metal Gear Solid 1, I remember I got a PlayStation. I've told you on other episodes that I had a PlayStation when all my friends had Nintendo 64. And one of remember PlayStation used to come with demo discs. And on the first demo disc I ever got was Metal Gear Solid. And I remember at the time, it came out around the same time Siphon Filter did. So I wanted to play Siphon Filter, but then I started playing Metal Gear Solid, and I was like, this is a pretty solid game, because it had had the text dialogue boxes. It was different. It was something beyond what I have played before. So as I'm sitting there playing as Solid Snake, I kind of there's this feeling of it was fun to hide behind things, and try to sneak around people. It got frustrating, but it was a good satisfying kind of frustrating, if that makes sense. So this was a game that I did pick up and I did play. I loved it. And, as it says on here, it got 94% from critics, sold over 6 million copies. And a lot of people say that it's one of the most important video games ever made. And I don't know how you feel about that, but a game that has lasted from the year it came out, 20 years, right? Came from the year it came out and went on to spawn comic books, sequels, novels, and, Kojima, the guy that created this franchise, is now has Death Stranding coming out. So you can't look at a game like this and say that it has not left a legacy on the gaming industry, positive, negative, whatever it is you think of this game. You can't look at it and say that it has not had some kind of impact on gaming. Even look at games like Splinter Cell, right? It came out at a very specific time, and these games, you don't see them anymore. You don't see these games where you're sneaking around anymore. So even Metal Gear Solid evolved by the time, was the last one that came out, what was it called? Is Metal Gear Solid 5, but I can't remember there's a couple different versions of it, right?
Phantom of Pain.
Phantom, yeah. So, and you saw Solid Snake riding around on the horseback and stuff like that through a more open world environment. So it's a game that is worthy of a top 10 spot. Going down here, Persona 5, this is one that really not confused me, but surprised me, right? Because Persona 5 is a relatively new game. It just came out a couple of years ago. So it surprised me that this was on this, but everyone I've talked to has said such positive things about this game. I've never played it, and I want to play it, but I just haven't had a chance, because someone said it's a 180-hour game or something like that. So I just have not had the time to sit down and devote to a game like this. But everyone that I've talked to about this game has said so many great things about it. Every review I've read, everything I've listened to, the only complaint is that it's long. Other than that, everybody seems to love this game. Going down to Tetris, of course, Tetris is going to make the list. It has to. It's the most popular game, or it's the most played game ever made. something like that. I don't know if it still has the
That
record. I
yeah,
know
that I
mine.
think that was because it's been on more versions that's been put out.
Yeah.
Even over Pac-Man or anything like that. So
Yeah, and I'm curious what happened with the whole legal battle with this, because I know the guy that made it was not he didn't make any, he didn't profit off of it at all. I know the Russian government was getting the money for this, so I'm just curious like how that licensing thing worked out. I've never done any research on it, but it might be something exciting to look into one day. So yeah, yes, I played Pac-Man. I have never played Super Metroid because I didn't have the Nintendo. Like I said, my first Nintendo system was the Wii. Ocarina of Time, great game, absolutely loved it. Did you hear that? Yeah, that's my dog grunting.
that was your stomach rumbling. I'd say go get something, and I'll wait.
No, it's all good. But I love this game because it was the first. I played this at a friend's house, right? And it's like it was the first Zelda that was 3-dimensional. So it had the target lock system. It had a bunch of new features that had never been on a Zelda game because everything else was just a little side scroller, right? A little side scroller, had a couple top down ones. This was truly brought Zelda to life in a way that Mario 64 did, for Mario. So I did enjoy this game. I liked it a lot. I do want to go back and play it again because I don't really remember a lot of it. I just remember it being fun. I didn't have it, so I didn't really get to play it to completion, but it is something that, as someone who just purchased a Nintendo 64 back in July, I would love to go back and play it. Super Mario World, was that the RPG one, or was there one called Super Mario RPG? I can't remember.
There was a Super Mario RPG. Super Mario World was just a straight console platform.
Yeah, and is that the one where you had the map and you travel along?
Yep.
Okay.
And the cute little music.
Yep. So I
that was it. That's now stuck in your brain, and just let you know on the drive to work tomorrow.
It'll be your voice playing it too. So yeah, I wish that I had the experience of playing some of these older Mario games, but I don't. Same thing with A Link to the Past. I bought this on Nintendo Switch, like the remastered version. I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet. So I'll go down here to Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is a game that it's one of those like once in a lifetime games. You capture that magic, and then they had Chrono Cross come out after that, and it did not capture the magic in the way that Chrono Trigger was able to. So I know it was created by a dream team, right? I think the Dragon Ball guy helped put this one together. So it's just all the elements of this game, like all the time traveling elements, all the multiple endings, the plot driven side quests. Like it was something that it was ahead of its time, and even when this game came out, it took a while for people to really, latch onto this. And so it's become a cult classic, and it's taken, even 20 years after its release, it's taken a long time to get to that place, but it is such a great game. And I think if any game is worthy of a remaster, I would say that it is Chrono Trigger. It's a long game, and I know if you can go on Amazon and buy it in the Final Fantasy there's a Final Fantasy collection that has this game inside of it, but it's a great game. Like, I don't want to give too much away. It's your typical RPG, but it has so many elements in it that were way ahead of its time when it came out. And like the whole whatever you do in the story determines how the game ends. Like that was the first time I had ever seen that happen. Do you have any experience with this one? Have you played it?
As far as which one?
Chrono Trigger.
Only a little. Just not been one of my game. Not been a game that's endeared to me that much. I played it. Thought it was all right, but it wasn't something that I was going to go. It's an all-time classic for me. Although I know and am aware that it's such a vaunted game with a whole bunch of people out there, and it's connected with millions of people out there, that it has now a place in the video game history and lore as being one of the greatest games of all time. So I'm never going to fault a game like Chrono Trigger and its place in history or a place on this list.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely worthy of that number 3 spot. Okay, so everybody has that game that made them a gamer. I played games growing up. Sonic, briefly dabbled in Mario over at friend's house and stuff like that. But I would say Final Fantasy VII is the game that truly made me a gamer. There's something about just being in that world, being fighting Shinra, being in Midgar. Like it's the mythology is so rich. The characters you care about the characters. Like this was the first Final Fantasy that was made 3D, I guess would be the term. It was a PlayStation game. Like it was, oh my gosh, I just remember the first time picking up a controller and playing this game and being instantly hooked into what's going on. This was my first Final Fantasy game that I played. I didn't go back and play the others until I played this one. But just the character development, the story, the music, the excitement of getting into a battle and hearing the it was all such a great, it all mixed so well together. And like I understand why this is the best Final Fantasy, in some people's eyes it's the best Final Fantasy game out there. It's just, it has so much, and it was such a great hopping on point for people who have never played the games before, who are new to the franchise. After years of these games existing in fantasy settings, Final Fantasy VII comes on here, and has more of like a futuristic steampunk vibe to it, and it works, and it has a story that was, at the time more relatable to everybody playing it, and they had bad guys that you were okay not liking, and good guys that you sympathized with. And I'm super excited to be playing to play in February or March the remastered version of it. So I can talk a lot about Final Fantasy VII, but I will go on to Super Mario Brothers 3 and say, unfortunately, I've never played it. So I know it's anticlimactic. Yeah, right? So I want to ask you, though, what are your thoughts on these final 10 games we got on this list?
I'm not sure if my headset is working properly, but I thought I heard you say you've never played Super Mario Brothers 3.
I never owned a Super Nintendo.
So again, I just thought I don't. Maybe it's just, man. These Audio Technicas work usually awesome, and they're the best headset I've ever had. But
I know. I plan on playing it one day, but I never had a Super Nintendo, so I didn't really get a chance to play a lot of these games. I played Super Mario Bros. 2. I didn't play the third one though.
Wow. You realize this is the #1 video game of all time, not only voted as by us, but it's been voted #1 on more than one occasion, with more than one outlet thought of as #1 by more than one individual out there.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. It's just something I never really went back to play.
It is a great game. It's not my favorite all-time game, but I did play it, and it is also deserving of its place on this list. And it's just it's a great experience, and it is the best Mario game. Super Mario Brothers did appeal to me, and I did play that a lot when I was a kid. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3 is it's the deal. I mean, I can see why a lot of people love it. I can see why it's constantly thought of by all the outlets out there, all the gaming outlets out there, that they all think it's the #1 video game of all time. This is not a surprise to anyone out there. I mean, its place in history is just, it's there. It's just thought of so well. It's just thought of so highly. I mean, I've never heard a disparaging word about Super Mario Brothers 3 in all my life. So, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who don't like it, which is people out there who didn't get it. But yeah, it's definitely #1. I didn't think it had any other. I don't think there was a doubt to me once I started seeing people's top 10 lists come in that Super Mario Brothers 3 was going to be the #1 video game of all time. I didn't think there was a doubt. Final Fantasy VII, I know a lot of people are connected to that game, and if somebody wants to know why that it's been taking eons for a remake to come out, all they have to do is check out the popularity of that game. So it's also justified where it's at. Super Mario Brothers, that's not even a question. I enjoyed it. It's one of the great console mover games of all time. And then also you got Tetris up on the list at #8. That's deserving because it like Pong, like Pac-Man, it's like like Asteroids, like some of those quintessential and transitional games in history. It is right up there, and is something that I think a lot of people have, even if you've just tried it a couple times or variation of Tetris in some form or fashion, even the Tetris game that just came out a couple years ago, which reinvigorated the Tetris genre, it's been a game that I think a lot of people will truly enjoy for many years to come, and it certainly is deserving a place on this top 10 list as top 10 list as well. And the last game I want to cover is Metal Gear Solid, because with the game coming around the corner from Kojima, he's got a lot to live up to, and it all starts with this game, because this game is the Kojima masterpiece. And I think a lot of people are just going to hold the game that he's coming out with in November, in just a couple of weeks' time, in just a few days' time, that they're going to be holding whatever game that he's putting, whatever game or whatever the content that's in it, and all this stuff, crazy stuff that's going on that we've seen in trailers, whatnot. All that's going to be held up to the Kojima standard, which starts at Metal Gear Solid. And I think that's, and I think at number 10, it actually might be placed a little bit higher than what I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little bit lower on the list, like in the top 5 personally. But still, it's a great showing for Metal Gear Solid as one of the top 10 video games of all time. So we did it, my friend. That's the top 10 video games of all time on our top 200 list. That's voted on by everyone that's out there at the Pop Culture Cosmos community. I'm going to give everybody out there listening a heads up, but we're going to introduce it later this week. But you can go ahead and vote. You can go ahead and start sending in your votes now, either on our social media or email us. And I'm going to tell you right now, our next list of the top 100 that we're going to compile is the top 100 movies of all time. So get on your thinking hats, get out your pen and paper, or get out your keyboard, because you know what? We want to hear from you on your top 10 movies of all time. And from that, they'll all be collected. They'll all be thought of. If we get enough votes in, we might actually have to go top 200. But we're going to start at top 100, okay? We're going to make sure we got enough votes to make a clear top 100. But if we get an overload of votes, we're going to go top 200 on this thing. But right now, we're going to just focus on top 100. So if you got a list of 10 that you can go off of, because it's going to go off for us like our last time we did this with the top 200 video games, it's going to go off of a 10-point scale. Send us your top 10 list of movies today, whenever you hear this, or as soon as possible. I haven't set a deadline yet, and we're not going to. We're going to give you a heads up in the coming weeks when a deadline is. But if you get a chance, start sending those top 10 lists today. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanic Media, and GameSource on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. So what do you think, man? Was that a great top 200 video games of all time?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to know, if we're still doing this that far in the future, like 10 years from now, what would be the top 10 games? Would it still be the same? Will there be new ones introduced? It's just, there's so many cool things coming out as far as video games go. What does the future hold? Are classics going to change according to generations? That's kind of an interesting thing that I've been thinking about lately.
So we might have to do this again at some point in time down the road.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it.
All right. Well, not right yet. But yes, at some point in time down the road, we'll go ahead and possibly revisit the top 200 video games of all time. But for right now, it is going to be the top movies of all time. So send us your list, the top 10 movies in your choice. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanic Media, and GameSource on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, it's our good friend Jason Todd Feinberg with his top 10 picks for Halloween, with his top 10 movie picks for this Halloween. And then right after, Josh is going to go ahead with some album choices that you need to listen to, and also our Halloween picks as well. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. If you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, 7 days a week, yes, even Halloween, just check out our listing today of all of our great radio stations, and that's going to be at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, And you'll also see a listing of many of our over 30 different podcast options as well. My friend, you've got a spooky and scary book that's getting a lot of 5-star reviews, and Congratulations, You Suck. So I want to hear your thoughts, man. What's going on with Congratulations, You Suck, and where can I get it?
It's for sale now. You can go on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. It's now available on palsbooks.com if you're in the Portland area. And you should pick it up. Yeah, it's getting some good reviews. There's 8 left on Amazon, so I would appreciate if you bought a copy. Let me know your thoughts on it. And if you already have, please leave a review or two. I would love to see what your thoughts are.
You know, during one of my babbles, you actually got a 5-star review that you had posted. So congratulations again to your fine authorism there going there. So I don't know if that's even a word,
I mean, congratulations to you on your fine diction too.
Yes, yes. I mean, I was just trying to think of something instead of fancy writing. I was trying to think of something clever. But
no, it works. It works. I got it. Thanks.
All right. So for some truly for some truly great authorism, go ahead and check out Congratulations, You Suck today by going ahead and ordering it on BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, the Nook, the Kindle, or just walk into your local Barnes & Noble and ask for Congratulations, You Suck from my good friend, the spooky and scary ghoul himself, Josh Peterson. Just want to go ahead and thank Jason Todd Feinberg for being on today's show, talking about the best horror movies that he likes for this Halloween. The best movies that he likes for this Halloween. My friend, before we go ahead with some more choices for us on this Halloween, I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on some albums you think people need to listen to. Well, not necessarily on Halloween, but anytime in the near future.
Okay, so I've listened to 12 albums this year, and I know that's not a lot, but hold on, Siri is actually trying to talk to me while Siri is responding to a question that you asked. It says, I'm not sure I understand. Anyways, let's get rid of that. Okay, so I've only listened to 12 new albums this year. I've listened to a lot of old music. You know, I've been catching up on things from the past few years. So, you know, total would be like 48 albums. But as far as like 2019 albums go, I've listened to 12. And the ones that I like so far, Commonwealth, which we discussed, you know, friends of mine have made this album really great, really captures you know, the pain and emotion that comes with addiction and abandonment and stuff like that. Like it really touches on a lot of very sensitive issues. And the lead singer, like the way that his voice, he's able to use his voice to capture what that feels like is absolutely fantastic. Like, it's my #1 album of the year is Commonwealth. The album is called Everyone Around Me. Check it out now. Help these guys, you know, go places. This is their first album, and I would definitely recommend listening to it. Next album is called What's Past is Prologue by Free Throw. And what originally got me into this album, I was going on YouTube looking for other albums by this record label I liked, and I came across this one, and I love that it has two songs named after Pokemon things. So one is called Tail Whip Struggle, and the other one is called Cerulean City. So I love, and if you listen to the lyrics, they're so awkward and heartfelt. It's basically a guy just singing his diary to you. So it's really good. It's rock, alternative, a little mixture of both, but definitely check that out. We're going on to Bears Den is another good one. They wrote the song Agape, so they're a band from the UK. There are a lot of banjos and things like that, so check them out. Thrice had an EP come out called Deeper Wells. If you liked their last album, this is kind of a continuation of what they're doing, more electronica than, you know, the screaming and hard rock sound that they are known for. Silver Sun Pickups. If you are a fan of Panic Switch, I know a lot of people love that. K-Rock still plays that song all the time. They had a new album come out called Widow's Weeds, which is really good. I was not a fan of the album that featured Bloody Mary, and I know that's kind of a departure from their style. So Widow's Weeds kind of returns to the hard rock sounds of of Swoon. That whole album was super hard and really good, and that's what a lot of Silversun Pickup fans remember and love about them was that album. This album kind of goes back to that. Again, the album is called Widow's Weeds. You can check that out now. If you are a fan of Atreyu and you listened to their album last year called In Our Wake, they have a deluxe edition out now that has a few new songs on it. And it has some acoustic versions of In Our Wake and some other things on there that are worth checking out. Slipknot, I know we talked about on an episode, We Are Not Your Kind. The album's like being nominated for all these different things. I did not know this, but Slipknot actually is its own corporation. Like the band is so big and there's so many moving parts there that it is its own corporation. You know, Corey Taylor, he's kind of blown up in the news these days. He sounds like he's doing better. He was facing a lot of mental health issues, and that it kind of bleeds into Slipknot, the new album. It always has kind of been in their music, but the lyrics to this are really good. I wasn't a huge fan because it felt like they had kind of gone backwards as compared to some of their older music. So you can that album's out now. Tool, Fear Inoculum. I'm kind of expecting more from a Tool album. This didn't really hit as hard as 10,000 Days did, or Anima, or any of their stuff, Undertow, and the stuff before that. Blink-182's new album 9 is actually really good. This is the second album with the lead singer of Alkaline Trio. And then Jimmy Eat World Surviving is a really good album also. They've never really made an album that disappointed me, but this album, going back, I've listened to it over and over again. I love every song on it. So if you're a fan of, Bleed America, it's not that, but it is something still worth listening to. And I will give you a warning now. Do not listen to the new Third Eye Blind album. It is garbage in its purest form. So that is what I've listened to so far this year. We're going to keep doing new segments. So I'm going to do talk monthly on albums that came out that, whatever month we happen to be in at the end of each month. So tune in for that. And if you have anything you'd like me to listen to or like us to listen to, send us an email at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. And we will give it a listen. We'll do a little review on the air.
Sounds good, my friend. That is, again, popculturecosmos and yahoo.com. Send it to us, and we'll go ahead and like Josh said, we'll go ahead and, like Josh said, give it a review and share our thoughts on the program. All right, my friend, it's been a spooky and scary episode. I want to thank Josh. I want to thank Jason Todd Feinberg for being a part of the show for being a part of the show today. And Friday, Terminator Dark Fate is going to come out. We're going to be talking, obviously, about that and some other great stuff in the world of pop culture. But any last scary thoughts on the way out, Josh?
Yeah, if you want to watch a terrible movie, watch Annabelle Homecoming. Again, I always respect the craft that goes into making movies, but this movie, I was expecting more of something being attached to the Conjuring franchise. It was basically happened because one teenage girl was an idiot. There's a certain level of intelligence that has always come with movies in the Conjuring franchise, but this just took them back several steps.
Well, before we head on out, one last thing. I mentioned to Jason that I thought one good horror movie pick would be Alien. I also want to say, if you really want to go old school, let's go with Go ahead if you have any. Let's go with. You know what? Go ahead. What are your thoughts on a horror pick this Halloween?
Ooh, are we old movies, or are we talking newer films? You're muted.
So before we head on out, let's go ahead and talk. Got to hear your thoughts, man. I suggested Alien as a horror choice for this, as a movie choice for this Halloween. I got to hear your thoughts on the movie choice before we head on out.
Okay, so if we're talking old movies, I'm a huge fan of the original Friday the 13th, just because I didn't know what that was when that first came out. It was something that I had never been exposed to, so that's why it kind of resonates so well with me. If you're talking newer films, I actually really enjoyed The Nun. You know I just blasted part of the Conjuring franchise a second ago, but The Nun was actually a really good movie. So it's two opposite sides of the same coin, but I really enjoyed The Nun. And Pan's Labyrinth is a good one, but yeah, The Nun is kind of my top choice this year.
I mentioned that to Jason Todd Feinberg, that The Nun probably is the standout to me in the Conjuring franchise as well. So yeah, give The Nun a check out. Check out The Nun, and then also as well what Josh was talking about. But another little one to add on to your spice, add on to your witch's brew before we head on out, and that's The Exorcist. Just in case you want to see Linda Blair spin her head around one last time.
You know, that's a movie I never saw. Like I can watch movies about ghosts and ghouls and stuff, but when it comes to like possession flicks, I can't do it. They scare me.
Something just possessed you. Scary. All right. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another spooky day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And please be safe. And please, from both of us at the Pop Culture Cosmos, from all of us at the Pop Culture Cosmos, have a safe and happy Halloween. And here's hoping you have yourself a scary day. We forgot to use. And here's hoping you have yourself a scary day. I can't even do that laugh right.